dressing a tiny man.
Hello friends, and welcome to my channel for another action figure review video. I say this every time, but I'm excited about this one. I get excited about these things, you know? This is one that I pre-ordered at least probably a year ago. For the longest time, I have wanted an 89 Nicholson Joker in my collection, especially with soft goods specifically. Finally, a third-party company has put one out. It arrived today, and I'm really excited to take a look at it. Here's how it looks straight out of the box. It did have another layer of this foam on top of it, and then it slides right out of that box there. So it is collector-friendly packaging. This is by Crazy Puppet and Nice Toys. And I don't remember what they're calling it, like Crazy Clown or something. I bought this from Toys Metaverse. This is my second or third time using them. So here's the initial look at it. Let's get everything out of the packaging and take a closer look at all of the accessories and the figure itself. All right, so we got everything out of the box here, and I gotta say, out the gate, I'm really impressed with this thing. I need to double check how much this costs. I think it was like 90 bucks, which is, you know, standard fare for this kind of figure, right? Cloth goods, bunch of accessories. You know, it's unlicensed, so I think they can afford to charge a little bit less, but just looking at it like this, I'm like, this figure looks really good. The head sculpt isn't super accurate. I do think it looks better in hand than it did in the photos, so that's a nice thing. Now, my friend Roy did a video on this, and I will put a link to his down below because he covers some really interesting stuff from a customizer's perspective. If you want to take all of the stuff that comes with this figure and put it on a better body, you really can't because the clothes are too small, and he demonstrates that with a few different body choices, so you can get a good idea of like scaling and that sort of thing. I think purely from an aesthetic standpoint of having this pop of color and purple and just, you know, the Joker as he appeared in this film in my 89 Batcave display, I think this is a great option. So if that's what you're after, I think you'll probably be happy with this. I do wish he was a little bit taller. I wish he was a baller. No, but you know, like I said, I've wanted one of these on the shelf for a very long time, and if this is all we ever get of this version of the character, then, you know, I can live with this. So let's get in tight and take a look at all the accessories he comes with. So we get two little stacks of $100 bills. These are not period correct. In 1989, US currency did not have the big faces on them. It's still a cool accessory and you can use it with other stuff. Now, as I was messing with it, I realized this is actually tape. I thought it was like molded into the plastic. This is actually individual pieces of like laminated paper or like cardstock with it. So it's actual individual bills. So that's pretty cool. And you get two stacks of it. You get two pistols. You have this one. It does have a hole in the barrel, so you can do that with it. It's only one-sided, so that is a consideration when you're posing this. And he only comes with the right trigger hand, so you're gonna have to, you know, if you display it with the flag, it's gonna have to be in a way that you can read it if you want the bang to be legible. If not, then it's whatever. It also comes with the super long one he uses to like shoot at the bat wing in the movie. He comes with this cane as well as a hand to hold it. So as he's like dancing around pumping the cane and holding it and stuff, you've got a hand that will approximate that. Let's go over the hands in full real quick. So you have this presenting hand, could be a gripping hand. I think there's a few different things you could do with it. This probably holds the little radios he comes with. You've got an open hand, which again is kind of like a ta-da type of hand. And these are not dissimilar to the other two that he has. And then you've got this one, which is too tight to be a trigger hand. So I think it's like he's either pointing or you could put the cane in his hand and have him hold and point it. In addition to those, you have this bullhorn. No real paint to it. Looks like it's just cast in this color, but some nice little details in the sculpt. Got the little wind up chattering teeth. They don't actually articulate or anything, but they look pretty nice. You got a bag of spare buttons for his coats. You have this radio. Really nice detailing on this. Like that's kind of an intricate little design to paint. Little speaker holes on the back there. The antenna has the sort of like, you know, graduating sections to it. It looks like it would collapse. It doesn't, but that's a nice attention to detail because they could have just done a straight up, you know, rod and you wouldn't really probably even notice. Same thing with this antenna. I don't know how exact these are to, like they even sculpted in the battery compartment. That's cool. I'd have to watch the movie again to see what kind of detailed shots we get of these to see how accurate the paint is. But I mean, off memory, I think these look fantastic. We get his little gas mask, again, very nicely painted. It doesn't like stay on the face. I think he just holds it up to his mouth in the movie anyway, if I remember correctly. So he also has this like flocked hat with a nice little ribbon around it and a little bow on it. How often do you get a hat like this? I think Soap Studios did it on their like Dumbledore figure That might be the only one I've ever seen. It looks pretty good. You have to make this part of the hat huge on figures generally, so that, you know, because there's no give on plastic, right? Not like when you put it on a real person's head and their hair flattens to accommodate the hat. But I think on this, it looks pretty good. Oh, you know what? It just occurred to me that, yeah, some of these hands probably work with the hat pretty well. If you wanted to have him doffing his cap or whatever. We also have an alternate coat so that he's got the tux jacket with the tails. Look at the stitching on that. That's impressive. This is a very intricate little article of clothing for just like a little plastic guy to wear, you know? It comes with this flower, and I'm thinking that this probably hooks in here. Yep. Look at that. That's a nice little detail. And it's like, the flower is like really well painted, really well sculpted. All right, taking a look at the figure itself, and this thing really is a mixed bag because all of those accessories are incredible. The soft goods on this are really nice quality from what I can tell. I mean, the tailoring is good. Look at the stitching, the material is nice. You know, they've got these kind of winged lapels on the coat, which seems accurate to me. You have the polka dots on the tie. You've got the buttons with probably like what's supposed to be red stitching, which I assume is screen accurate if they did it, because it's like a weird little detail to go out of your way for if it's not accurate. But then you've got this thing, and as my friend Roy showed in his video, it's on one of those just simple little 1/12 scale bodies that are like true 6-inch scale and not like a little bit bigger like Mezco and some of the other third-party companies. So the challenge is now that does he scale with anything, right? As Roy pointed out, if you try to put him on a taller body, he's kind of wearing high waters, right? So he's probably going to look something like that. Now, my other main gripe is that because it's on one of these tiny little bodies, the head looks huge. Like, Jack Nicholson does kind of have a big head, and I feel like he was a little huskier than this little body is as the Joker. So I think if you were to put some kind of like padding in there to kind of fluff him out a little bit, it probably would look a lot more accurate, and it would make the head look less big. Ultimately, the amount of customization I put into a figure kind of comes down to like, how well can I live with the way that it looks on the shelf? Like, am I going to notice those little things every time, or do I just kind of forget and see the Joker next to all the other relevant characters? So it's up to you, right? We'll try his other jacket, but first I want to go over articulation. So the head is connected at the base of the neck. You can look up a decent amount. He looks down pretty far. You got your side to side tilt, and you know, the neck kind of looks like it elongates, so you will have to kind of like try to get the shirt collar to ride up a little higher if you're going to put him in a pose like this. Of course, you've got full 360 rotation. Arms come up to there, and they do look a little like little nubs on him with that giant head. They can go forward to about there. They're hindered by the coat, obviously. I'm sure if you take the coat off, you get a lot more range of motion. And go back to there, which is pretty good. These tend to have like kind of a little butterfly joint sort of thing, but I don't think this clothing is going to allow use of that. So, I mean, you can get pretty far, but then the tension of the jacket pulls it out. Double jointed elbows, they do show a lot of his skin, and this Joker was supposed to be fully pasty white because he fell in the vat of chemicals, so this isn't accurate. He should be white under there. You do have full swivel just below the shoulder at the top of the bicep, and then wrist is on a hinge and swivel peg, so you get as much range as these cuffs on the gloves will allow you to. You know, one of the reasons I'm sure they chose this body, one is because it's probably, you know, they're pretty inexpensive, and two, they do have great articulation. So this is going to give you the most amount of articulation probably in this scale with all these clothes on it. Unfortunately, it just makes it a little bit small, but really great back and forward bending. You get some side bend. You know, ab crunch is pretty good. I mean, you can sit him down if you have a Joker mobile or something you want to put him in. Oh, leg just popped out. That's on me. Yeah, see, his leg popped out of the socket there. Fixable, but annoying in the middle of a review. Well, let's look. I don't think I can get the leg out the bottom of the pants either. I was going to just pop it out and show you the leg articulation. But yeah, double jointed knees. He does have, you know, these bodies come with these pegs here to make them longer or taller, make the legs longer. So he's as tall as he's going to get on this body. There's a little ball peg in there, so you do get a pretty decent range of motion. And I like the shoes. Like, I think, you know, it's the kind of patent leather two-tone look to them. So you get some swivel and hinge and, you know, all that good stuff. So yeah, good articulation there. I'm gonna go pop his leg back on. So let's get in tight on the head sculpt here for a moment. And I think it's a pretty good likeness. I feel like the eyes are a little bit too far apart and they're set kind of weird, but you know, like from these angles, that's Jack Nicholson as a Joker for sure. I think when you're straight on, it just is a little bit off, but you know, for a mass-produced like paint app sort of perspective, I think it looks really good. The pink around the eyes and the sort of off color in the eyes being a little bit bloodshot looking. That's really important when you have a character whose face is completely white, because you know, if you look at photos of him, like the eyes are a little bit more yellow, a little bit more pink. So I think this was a really good way to approximate that. Yeah, like from this angle, that's him all day long, right? I think they did a good job with like the fullness on the sides, like near the neck and stuff like that. And you know, the ears, you can tell like there's kind of a wash on the face, and then when you get to the ears, they just lose all detail. Like you can kind of see the delineation right about there. But again, you know, mass-produced third-party thing, not too bad. Okay, the other jacket is on, and it looks like I already lost a button. I don't know when that happened, if I did that or not, so I'm glad they sent extras. This one is a lot tighter fitting in the shoulders, and so you do have to futz with it a lot more. You know, as I was swapping the jacket out, I looked at some pictures of Nicholson in the role, and yeah, I mean, he just like, see how just flat this guy is in the front? Nicholson had a bit of a paunch to him, right? So adding some foam underneath the shirt or something to pad it out is really going to help give it the look it's supposed to have. So, but yeah, it just needs a little bit of love to push it over the edge. I'm going to go tinker with it, and then I'm going to come back. So I've got some cotton wool here. I've got the figure, and I've got a set of tweezers. I'll put a link in the description below. I use these for just about everything when I'm doing figure stuff. They come in different tips, and this is like a nice rounded edge, so you're not gonna like snag anything. This is what I'm talking about. You see this fold right here? This should be filled in to the point where this doesn't happen. So what we're gonna do, and we could probably, yeah, we can remove the head pretty easily. So we're gonna go in from the top here. I've also untucked the shirt because we're gonna wanna put some in here too. But it separates pretty easily. You know, you don't want to use a ton to start off with. Figure out what the mass is going to be like as you do it. I'm folding it on itself so I don't have a bunch of flyaway pieces. And I'm just going to start stuffing them until I get rid of this fold pretty much. I don't want it to be a ball because it, you know, it can be too like bulbous and then it won't look right at all. Okay, so now he's starting to fill in the shoulders. But yeah, just like Roy said, you know, the clothing is too small. Like you can't do a lot with it. So we may exceed its limit here and have to dial this back. We'll find out as we go. You know, a lot of soft goods stuff is just adjusting the clothing. If we pull up on the back of the vest a little bit, it'll give us a little bit more play in the front to pull it down over his stomach. And then we want to tuck the shirt in. But yeah, with these tweezers, you can get this stuff right in where it's supposed to be, like that. See how he's filled out now? So here we have them all filled out in the display in a little pose. Camera doesn't really do justice to the kind of dynamism of this pose. Like he's actually pretty arced, you know, like the way his feet are kind of planted and his hips are off to the side, and then he's got an arm out. The depth of it doesn't really show up on camera, but it looks pretty fun in the display in person. I also, as you can see, I stuffed that pistol in the front of his pants. And it actually does like pull all the way out, which is pretty fun. And here actually is a bit better angle on the pose where you can see he's kind of a bit more dynamic. And yeah, the waistcoat does ride up a bit. I do have to kind of keep futzing with it to get it back down, and then that changes the pose a little bit. So, you know, that's one of the things with any action figure. You're constantly sort of posing and reposing, trying to get it how you want. But I gotta say, once this guy is in the display and posed up, and I've got him filled out a little bit under the jacket, I really, really like this thing. I did off camera, I also filled in his shoulders a bit, and that really helped with the size of his head. So having that padding go all the way out to the seams of the jacket where the shoulder meets the arms really helps fill him out and just make him look more complete. Now here's a look at some size comparisons. Here he's with the SH Figure Arts Batman from the Flash movie. And these are small figures, right? SH Figure Arts are already pretty small, and then you add a shorter character like Keaton's Batman and they look pretty tiny. Here he is next to a McFarlane Batman figure. Now, this one has been reduced in height a bit. I swapped out the ankle pegs to make him more in proportion and closer to like a Mezco scale. This is shorter than your McFarlane Batman is, but you can see even here he's still way too tall to pair with this Joker. So your McFarlane 89 will not go with him either. Here he is with this old Mattel Penguin. This is from several years ago. I don't remember exactly when or what the line was called, but they also put out a Panther suit Batman. And then here is the most important comparison of all, in my opinion, this Joker with the Mezco 89 Batman. I think this is a pretty good pairing. You know, he's a little short compared to this Batman, but I think it works, especially in my display. They're not going to be next to each other. I have Batman off to the side in his own kind of area. But, you know, as I move the camera around, you can see like it works from different angles. I mean, from straight on, you can see the height disparity, but you know, if you're kind of standing above it or to the side, and, you know, obviously there's Batman's ears to take into account as well, and he's standing straight up and down. If you put him in any kind of a fighting stance or, you know, slightly crouched pose or spread his legs apart further, these two are going to look pretty good next to each other. So, like I said, to me, this is the most important comparison, and I think this works pretty well. Here's just kind of an overall look at the display for the end of the video with everybody in their spots. I will probably keep trying to expand this a bit. I'd like to repaint that penguin head and maybe do a soft goods body on him at some point. So, you know, plans in the works. But I chip away at this stuff as I go, pretty much, whenever I feel the urge or when a new figure like this one comes out. Yeah, and I've got some of his accessories displayed with him because I love displaying figures with as much of the stuff they came with as I can get away with. I don't want to overdo it here because there's not a lot of accessories on display. Just on the ground, but here's Batman and my custom McFarlane Batmobile. Very proud of this one. This was kind of the sort of archetype for a lot of people's customs, and I was the first one to chop that canopy on the internet and make it, you know, kind of a tutorial on how to do it. So that was pretty fun, and I'm sure a lot of you are here because of those videos. So thank you for riding with me all this time. There's also a video on the channel of me making this diorama. So if you're curious how all that went together, you can watch that, and I will link it at the end card on this video if you watch till the end. So that is going to do it for this one. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. As you know, that helps feed the algorithm and show other people my channel. And I invite you to subscribe if you're into this kind of stuff, if you like these kind of figures, if you're into this display. This is what I do on here. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and join us, and hope to see you in more of the video comments. So that'll do it for this one. Until next time, keep your head on swivel.